Okay, hello, good afternoon. So my name's Shay Costello. I'm the Operational Hub Lead here in Hertfordshire's Careers Hub. Today we're going to be going through the statutory guidance and all of the changes that's happened to Gatsby. So objectives of today's webinar is that you'll understand the new changes. We're going to have a deep dive into benchmark 1 and 6. We're going to have a look at some of the tools and strategies, and we're going to reflect upon the changes to the Gatsby benchmark and start planning your next steps. So this is a snapshot of all of the musts off of the new statutory guidance. I think it's very good that we've got a strongly recommends, so from the DfE, strongly recommends the use of the careers impact system. Also strongly recommends using the future skills questionnaire, which is a really powerful tool within Compass Plus to capture your student voice and to be able to assess how good your careers program is. The musts, so schools must publish information about their careers program. The governors must make sure that careers guidance is happening, that it is impartial, that it is offering a full range of pathways available. And they must also make sure that provider access legislation is happening. So provider access sessions are those technical pathway sessions with different providers throughout years 8 to 13. And the governors must make sure that those sessions are happening within the school. A couple of really good resources on this slide. These slides will be shared, so you'll have access to all of these links. This 1995 summary for school leaders, that's an absolutely fantastic resource. It's got checkboxes against each of the musts on here, and then it's got all of the shoulds and the musts listed underneath in an easy to summarize, easy to read format. The full guidance is also on here, so feel free to give that a read through. That is quite wordy, so that's about 70 pages. For those of you who are very short on time, Janet Coolidge has done a really nice blog summarising all of the changes, so I recommend giving that a read through. One that could be missed off is this one here. So learners with EHCPs from year 9 onwards must include focus on preparing for adulthood, including employment. That is in the bottom of another section, so it could quite easily be missed over, but just so you're all aware of that one. So those are the musts on the statutory guidance. So Gatsby benchmarks, so a lot of changes coming in. So they have been the same for the last 10 years. So Gatsby benchmarks were set up about 10 years ago off the back of something called the Gatsby report. This is where the government commissioned ex-head teacher of Watford Boys School, so we've got a local connection there. He went around to different countries around the world and took the best practice of careers education, pulled them into the Gatsby report, and that then evolved into the Gatsby benchmarks of good careers education. Changes upcoming, so there's going to be a lot more around parental engagement. That's going to be pretty much across most of the benchmarks now. Making use of internal leadership review and the careers impact system, which I will talk about in more detail later on. Benchmark 2, a lot more around NMI that has moved across each key stage and also including parents now. Benchmark 3, focusing on equity and specifies which groups. Benchmark 4, one of the biggest changes that's moved across every year, every subject and staff. So benchmark 4, linking curriculum to careers, every year, every subject, every staff. Also, there is now responsibility for students to be able to access individual records, and that if you had a student who changed school, that file would then need to go to the new school. So that is a very small change at the bottom of a lot of changes, probably take a while to get implemented, but there is now that requirement. There is a requirement for intended destination data to be used to evaluate your careers program. In benchmark 7, HE is replacing university, and benchmark 8 is linking in with key staff and with parents. Some of the welcomed updates as the removal of 3 years worth of destinations. That's just been replaced with collecting destinations, which I think is welcomed by everybody. That's a lot more realistic than collecting 3 years worth of destinations. And there is a really nice summary video here. I'm not going to play it today, but feel free to give that a look through when you've got the time. So the idea is that careers is going to be put at the heart of education and leadership. There's a lot more around head teachers, governors, SLT, taking more responsibility for careers. It needs to be that whole school approach now. A lot more focus on inclusion and impact for each and every young person. A lot more around using the data. So what is the data telling us? How can we use that to shape our careers program? How can that be used to make it more engaging? and engaging of parents and carers. So a lot more around that in all of the benchmarks, and meaningful and varied encounters and experiences. So there is now a definition for making it meaningful for benchmark 5, 6, and 7. I will run through those in a bit more detail a little bit later on. So Careers Impact System, this is a new initiative by the Careers and Enterprise Company. This is kind of the golden ticket, if you like. It is split up into 2 main sections. So there's internal leadership review, which would happen in school, and that's where the careers leader, SLT, head teacher sit down and work through something called the maturity model. Absolutely fantastic model developed through years of research with the CEC. And the idea is there are 4 columns on the model, and you rate yourself into which one of these 4 columns that you feel you meet on that point. That finding is then taken into a peer-to-peer review, where we would invite you to participate with 2 other institutions. We get head teachers, careers leaders in a room for a day and take it in turns to go through each other's maturity model. That, in a nutshell, is the Careers Impact System. This infographic on the right here, this is a really powerful one, and one that I think is very good to use. So you start with the statutory guidance, make sure you read and digest that, engage with the Careers Impact System, start using your internal leadership to strategically plan, have a look at those definitions for Gatsby Benchmark 6, those meaningful definitions, start mapping your provision, have a look at the EqualX framework, which I'll talk about in more detail a little bit later on, and then start planning the whole school model, lead it through to your school development plan, and then the whole cycle starts again. Some really good resources on here, some links around the Careers Impact System. If you are interested in engaging in the Careers Impact System, if you could let myself know, please copy in your enterprise coordinator, ping us over an email, and we'll talk you through how to do the internal leadership review, and then later on invite you to a peer-to-peer review. So worth noting, the maturity model, there are 6 themes. It is wordy. It does take a while. I would strongly recommend setting aside probably 2 hours as the careers leader and SLT, if you can get them. Work through the model, take your findings into then a shorter meeting with your head teacher, because I know they're all short on time, and then record the findings once a consensus has been agreed, record that onto Compass Plus, and then we'll invite you through to the peer-to-peer review. So Gatsby benchmarks, I'll run through these quickly. Benchmark 1, stable careers program. Benchmark 2, learning from career and labour market information. Benchmark 3, addressing the needs of each young person. Benchmark 4, linking curriculum learning to careers. Benchmark 5, encounters with employers and employees. Benchmark 6, experiences of the workplace. Benchmark 7, encounters with FE and HE. And benchmark 8, personal guidance. So let's look at those in a bit more detail. So benchmark 1, strategic careers leadership. A lot more responsibility for leaders, governors, and wider staff delivering careers guidance. The idea is that careers guidance woven into the strategy, wider improvement priorities, and staff development planning at all levels. Careers guidance has been shifted across all subjects, and clarification on the progression pathways, and all of the pathways that are available to our young people. So that bit at the bottom there, that is a snapshot from the maturity model. So that's just showing one section of it. So you can see that it starts to become quite powerful. Benchmark 1, careers embedded in school improvement. Do you have a careers leader who's trained to appropriate level? Do they have time and budget? SLT, head teacher and governors, if they're not involved already, Careers Impact System is a really good tool how to get them involved. And then is your careers program published and evaluated? Is it published on the website? How often do you evaluate it? Who's involved in that evaluation? So I'm just going to run a quick poll now on benchmark 1. Bear with me 1 second. There are no wrong or right answers. But if you can just take a second, that should be popping up on your screen shortly. If you can give me a thumbs up if that's worked, somebody.
Yeah, that's popped up, Shay.
Thank you. Okay, so looking at that, we've got a 50-50 response rate of embedding strategic and making progress. So we're in a really good place. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, so benchmark 2.
That's me.
Over to you, Alicia.
So yes, benchmark 2. You can see a little bit on the screen already, so I won't repeat any of that, but it's all around labour market information. So the basic updates to benchmark 2 focus around learner, parents and staff having access to good quality and up-to-date information around study options, future pathways and labour market information. And that means making use of the information to ensure all our young people have consistent support with their decision making during each stage of their education. So what is LMI, labour market information? So it's region specific, and it tells you about the current work and job environments there are around the county, which areas are stronger than others and which industries are thriving in that area. It allows young people to learn about Hertfordshire's top employment sectors. And in Hertfordshire, there are industries that require talented people now and in the future. So it's important when choosing a career, our young people have an understanding of as many types of industries possible. And that's what we will be pushing and looking into a lot more to ensure that our careers programs are of high quality and also meeting the modern work experience criteria. And that includes what skills are needed and why the sector could be right for them. We do have the HOP, our online portal, which provides lots of resources to click into, and that's by industry. So each young person can explore every sector in more detail, and they can discover more about the industries and employers nearer to where they live or where they may need to go to in order to find the right job to match their skills. So how do careers leads achieve this benchmark? Well, think about how all pupils, parents and carers, teachers and staff gain access to good quality, up-to-date information, specifically around future pathways, study options and local market information, of course. And again, this can be done again by each key stage accessing the HOP. If not already aware, the careers leader should be encouraging them to look through it anyway, and maybe using it during learning and in own time with parents and carers, which will satisfy some of the updates that we've already heard about. Teachers and staff can use the resources in respective classes to keep that golden thread running through the schools and embedding careers in everything that we do. And for SEND schools and ESCs, they will have the same as mainstream and will adjust to each pupil's needs as they do for everything. And there may be some specific options for study, i.e. around entry levels, foundation courses or independent training provisions for SEND, and the same for businesses and charities who offer and support disability and impairments. But more specifically, the HOP also provides a set of infographics for each of the 10 districts around the county. And these are to educate the young people around local market information, where the companies are, the size of them, the number of employees, provides essential information on the qualifications, and also emerging jobs in the region where the highest areas of growth are. There's a list of over 24,000 jobs in the county, as well as all apprenticeships that we know of. Hertfordshire Skills Framework is a place where young people can go to look at the key employability skills and attributes sought by Hertfordshire employers so that they can improve their work readiness and form a better understanding of the world of work and its expectations. There's an employer spotlight section. There's each area's own resource will contain information about specific employers, like I said, what sort of size company they are and what they do and where they get their talent from. And all the information on the HOP is updated, as well as using it in school with learners. Careers leads are encouraged to add some of the content to the website to satisfy benchmark 2. All the resources are downloadable, and you can print them out if you wish and put them up around the classroom so that young people can see visually all the time to use in individual lessons and revision. So why do we need to focus on local market information? Well, it highlights many career opportunities, as I've said, and in the high growth areas. It helps young people understand what working is about and why it's essential to their future, as the information is broken down into little digestible chunks that they will learn from more effectively. It identifies gaps in job roles by providing demographic information. And it's also important for social mobility. Young people should be more equipped to understand what's on offer in their region and how to get there, so they can make better informed decisions about their future career choices. Understanding what employers are looking for is important to secure their choice, we've said, and we bang on about the fact that qualifications are important, but attributes are just as essential. So this needs to be this needs to be understood with young people so that they can fulfill those expectations, and they're not afraid to learn a little bit more about the job market. That's it.
Great. So just to highlight, there's some links on there. So link through to HOP, and I'll link through to the labour market information page on HOP. There's a fantastic lesson plan on there that you can cut and paste into a PSHE lesson. So it can be very easy to meet this benchmark. Equally, parents and carers, big push for them. So getting HOP on the website if it's not already on there. Nice, easy one to action. So benchmark 3, addressing the needs of each young person. So I'm just going to have a read through of this. So benchmark 3, pupils have different careers guidance needs. Careers program should help navigate their concerns about barriers to careers progression. In addition, opportunities should be tailored to the needs of the pupil, including any additional needs of vulnerable and disadvantaged pupils, young people with SEND and those who are absent. School careers program should actively seek to challenge misconceptions and stereotypical thinking, showcase a diverse range of role models, and raise aspirations. Schools should keep systematic records of the participation of all pupils in aspects of the careers program, including individual advice given to each pupil and subsequent agreed decisions. For pupils who change schools during the secondary phase, a file needs to go to the new school with all of their careers activities on there. All pupils should have access to these records and should use them ahead of any key transition points. So when they're doing their year 9 options, when they're looking at what they're going to do post 16. Schools should collect and maintain and use accurate data for each pupil on their aspirations and intended and immediate education, training and employment destinations. That's then fed through to the careers advisor, who can help that to inform their personalised support. And schools should use sustained long-term destination data as part of their evaluation process and use alumni to support their careers program. So quite a few changes there in benchmark 3. Benchmark 4, handed over to you, Caitlin.
Hello. So benchmark 4 focuses on linking curriculum learning to careers. It ensures that subject teachers help students understand how their learning relates to real-world jobs and careers pathways, whilst also enhancing student motivation and supporting them to make informed education and employment decisions. So changes to the benchmark include now all curriculum subjects offering opportunities to link the knowledge and skills they are developing in their subject to gain entry to and be effective workers in a wide range of careers. Careers should also form as part of the school's overall staff development to ensure that all curriculum staff are aware of how to support pupils with careers knowledge. The updated guidance strengthens benchmark 4 by emphasising a whole school responsibility for careers. So all teaching staff, not just careers leaders, are expected to embed careers learning into their subject teaching. So teachers should be encouraged to use real-world examples such as employer encounters to make learning more engaging and meaningful. So practical ways to implement the new benchmark 4 requirements could include using career display boards and posters in classrooms so that students can immediately look around their space and see how careers in their curriculum could support them with that. So inviting guest speakers from industry or alumni to speak to talk about subject-specific career paths, including career-focused activities in already happening trips, projects or assignments, and also making sure that careers is actively included in staff training or inset days. A good way to do this is, if you are a Unifrog school, is to make sure that all staff have access to and are using Unifrog as part of their lessons. So we highly recommend conducting a benchmark 4 audit with your curriculum leads, as so that you can see what's already happening in your classes, because a lot of people might have already been doing this. So this will also help when it comes to completing your campus return, as you'll have more of a picture as to what is happening in the classroom. So resources that are available to support you with this include, on the CEC website, we've got My Learning, My Future programme, which you can see a picture of there on the screen. So this is subject-specific lesson plans and resources curated for the majority of school subjects. Unifrog is also a great tool for subject-specific learning, as students can search careers by subject and research their pathways. We have some good resources on HOP around Benchmark 4, which include examples of subject-led learning, and there's some lesson plans which link back to employers like Tesco. And finally, amazing apprenticeships, subject-led resource bundles are now available to support curriculum staff, specifically around the knowledge of apprenticeships within their teaching subject. And within that, each pack includes a teacher guide, a student activity, lesson slides, and a subject poster to put up in the classrooms. And links to those can be found on the PowerPoint slide. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Caitlin. Those subject-led resources from Amazing Apprenticeships are absolutely fantastic. Please do go on, they're free. You just download them from the website. So follow that link through and it will take you straight there. So Benchmark 5. Not that many changes to Benchmark 5, but there has been changes to what meaningful means. So every pupil should have multiple opportunities to learn from employers about work, employment, and the skills that are very valued in the workplace. So be through a range of activities, opportunities, including visiting speakers, mentor and enterprise schemes, and could include pupils' own part-time employment where it exists. Every year from the age of 11, pupils should participate in at least one meaningful encounter with an employer. So what is a meaningful encounter? So there is a Make It Meaningful checklist linked on here. Feel free to go through to that. It will take you through to a really good resource that highlights it. In a nutshell, for benchmarks 5, 6, and 7, to make it meaningful, there needs to be some prep. So they need to have a think about the learning objectives of the encounter. There needs to be interaction with multiple different job roles, and there needs to be reflection upon the skills and tasks that they've done while they've been on that workplace experience. Benchmark. So that was in a nutshell across all of them. So let's go into a bit more detail. So benchmark 5, it needs to have a clear purpose. It needs to be underpinned by the learning outcomes. It needs to have the opportunities for two-way interaction, and it needs to have time to reflect on the knowledge, skills, and behaviours learned through that encounter. Benchmark 6, there needs to be a clear purpose, which is shared with the employer and the learner. It needs to be underpinned by those learning outcomes, appropriate to the needs of the learner. It needs to have extensive two-way interaction. There needs to be opportunities to meet a range of different people from the workplace, include opportunities for learners to perform tasks while they're there that are relevant to the workplace, include feedback from the employer to the learners, and followed again by that time to reflect upon knowledge, skills gained through that experience. Benchmark 7, quite similar, so it needs that clear purpose, underpinned by the learning outcomes, two-way interaction, include relevant information about provider recruitment and selection processes and the qualifications that provider offers and what that could then lead to. Description of what training with that provider is like. And again, time for reflection, so followed upon the insights, knowledge, skills, behaviours they've gained through that encounter. So that is what we mean when we refer to meaningful. Benchmark 6, so defined as meaningful and progressive. So big changes to the world of work experience at the moment. There's a big drive by the government to get 10 days worth of work experience by the end of year 11. Careers and Enterprise Company has embraced that and have come up with the EqualX framework. Absolutely fantastic framework to map all workplace experiences against. I will run through a few of the framework slides shortly. So make it meaningful, progressive, starts early and builds across the key stages. Includes that tasks, the feedback and reflection, aligned with the learning outcomes and mapped to the EqualX framework. So modern day work experience, you start with that statutory guidance, read, digest, engage in the careers impact system, start using the internal leadership review, have a look at those meaningful definitions, have a look at what you're doing already. Start mapping that provision against the EqualX frameworks, and again, lead through into that whole school improvement plan. So the idea of the EqualX framework, this is just one of the tools out of the framework. So split into three main parts: introduce, inspire, investigate, explore, apply, and demonstrate. Introduce and inspire, that's kind of aimed at your year 7s, year 8s. That's the introduction to the workplace, looking to raise those aspirations. And that's kind of if you had like 1 hour or half a day. Moving forwards, so investigate and explore. That's kind of 8s, 9s, 10s. If you had a bit more time, sort of one day, and then you're looking to do a little bit more, build upon what they've already done. And then they're moving into the apply and demonstrate phase. So that's a bit longer, the traditional, work shadowing, block work experience, that will fall under apply and demonstrate. But modern work experience is looking to move away from that traditional block work experience and move into experiences of the workplace. So we're trying to not to refer to work experience anymore. So some of the key principles that support modern work experience. So in-person matters. The government's got a big drive that going to work matters. That virtual adds value, doesn't replace the in-person. Make it meaningful, definitions that we spoke about in depth. So all of the workplace experience that happen need to be meaningful, and to build a progressive program so that the introduce and inspire leads into the investigate and explore, and that leads into your apply and demonstrate. You can see if you start to do all of these steps that your workplace experiences will be really impactful and really able to make those young people make their best next step. So use the statutory guidance, understand the government's expected vision of 10 days worth of workplace experience, look at the Gatsby 6 meaningful definitions, engage in the careers impact system, and then start using the EqualX framework to define the learning outcomes for your school and start building that progressive modern day work experience. So another snapshot from the framework. So those year 7 activities aimed at sort of learning objectives. Who am I? Why am I here? Moving into year 8, building that progressive structure. What can be here to help me do? What could I do? How does all this link to the world of work out there? Where could I do it? How do I make steps towards meeting my ambitions? What skills, knowledge, and attributes do I have to have? Where's my best next step? Who can help me? What do I need to do to get there? So benchmark 6, what exists already? How could it be adapted? How could it be repurposed? What are you currently doing? And once you map out all of those workplace experiences that are already happening in school, you might find you've only got a few gaps to fill. But all of those current workplace experiences need to be meaningful. So make sure that you're using the Make It Meaningful checklist. Again, fantastic resource on HOP, getting ready for the workplace experience, linked on here. Fantastic video on how to prepare. So that prep work that you have to do, some of it's already done for you. There's also resources on there about how to behave in a workplace, how to impress your employer while you're there, how to boost your skills, and how to make the most of the experience for your young people. So in which phase would you place the following experiences? So this is looking at one example of the EqualX framework. So workplace experience, workplace visit day, meet the staff workshops during school, college visits, workplace safari, careers insight spotlights, work shadowing, employer project or encounter. All of these would count as workplace experiences. So some more details from the EqualX framework. So those introduce and inspire activities. These are the learning outcomes and the learning objectives that you'll be looking to use for those activities. So, it's about increasing that awareness, the self-awareness, so they start to understand what skills are needed. And it's really aimed at their aspirations, so that raising aspirations. So that's that. If you had 1 hour, what could you do? So moving forwards from that progression, if you had 1 day, what could you do? So this is more sort of your work shadowing, your years 8, 9, 10s, investigate and explore. So it's about developing that careers readiness, starting to look at the roles, different roles that are out there and the responsibilities of those roles, and starting to have a look at the different sectors and the economy. And then apply and demonstrate. That's taking all of those skills and those learning objectives that you've just developed throughout and building upon it and starting to use those. So your traditional block work experience would fall into this. Equally, so would different models of modern work experience. So within Hertfordshire, we trialled what we're referring to as the Shire Park model. where we had 3 big employers. So it was Tesco, Morgan Sindall, and Paypoint, and they all happened to be in the same industrial estate. So we had a different groups of students move around, spend an hour with each employer and do different tasks while they're there. Absolutely fantastic workplace experience. We're looking for employers to take that model and run with it, and we're leaning up on our cornerstone to be able to, of course, no employers to be able to support that moving forwards. So this slide is starting to think about your learners as levers. So what skills do they need to develop to be able to make that best next step? You know, developing that self-awareness, the career knowledge, and the decision-making that goes into that. What do they need to know about recruitment and the workplace readiness to support them making that best next step? So employer standards, I'm just going to talk about these a little bit. So this is a fairly new tool developed by CEC. Essentially, in a nutshell, it's Gatsby benchmarks for employers. So it's a really good way for any employer to benchmark their education outreach and any support they're doing to help develop their future talent pipeline. It is a free framework, takes about half hour to go through. Please promote this with any enterprise advisors working with, any employers that you're engaging with. Absolutely fantastic framework. So it identifies where you are with each of the 9 standards, and then it signposts you to resources on how to do more. So, summarize benchmark 6. Read through those meaningful, make sure that all of the experiences that you're doing meet that. Make sure it's a progressive program so it builds upon, starts early, builds across all key stages, includes tasks, feedback, reflection, that it is inclusive and aligned with those learning outcomes. So, benchmark 7. Over to you, Chris.
So benchmark 7 encounters with further and higher education. So all pupils should understand the full range of learning opportunities that are available to them, including academic, technical, and vocational routes. This should incorporate learning in school, colleges, and independent training providers, universities, and in the workplace. By the age of 16, every pupil should have a meaningful encounter or meaningful encounters with providers of the full range of learning opportunities, including sixth forms, colleges, universities, and ITPs. We already spoke about independent training providers, and the definition of that now is not just ITPs, it's providers of technical and vocational qualifications. So as well as an FE college offering your FE courses, they're also a training provider, as well as the employers you engage with as part of provider access, workplace visits. But please bear in mind that provider access has to be provided in school during normal school hours, not on the workplace encounter. Also, where a lot of schools do struggle with encounters with FE colleges, with universities, FE colleges are also HE providers in Hertfordshire. So all 4 Hertfordshire colleges also provide HE courses as well. So HNCs and HNDs. By the age of 18, all pupils who are considering applying to higher education should have had at least 2 visits to a university higher education provider to meet staff and learners. So that's how you can make that a lot easier for yourself. So without having to jump onto a coach to your local university, you can actually use your local college for that as well.
Great, thanks, Chris. Benchmark 8.
Yep, so benchmark 8 is personal guidance. There's 4 key changes for this one. Firstly, the terminology, they've changed from interviews to meetings, and there's an emphasis on that being personal and individual. There's a necessity for collaboration with other staff, so they've referenced the SENCO perhaps being involved, SLT being involved, so that it's a kind of integrated across the school approach. It's important that information about IAG is communicated to pupils and parents and carers, and this being through the website as well, so that people can access and understand what IAG is available for the students within the school. And of course, there's an emphasis that each pupil has 1 meeting by age 16 or 1 meeting by age 18. So this is more imperative than it was previously. Thanks, Shay.
Thanks, Heidi. Okay, so just want you guys to start thinking about these questions on the right hand side there. So if you had one day, if you had half a day, what would you start doing? If you had 1 week, what would you do with your young people? So just start thinking about how best you would position yourselves. So tools, resources. So Compass Plus, free tool, very fantastic, powerful strategic planning tool, and future skills questionnaire, really good tool for capturing your student voice, for seeing what's sticking in your careers program. Careers impact system, so we're rolling that out pretty large this year. So if you'd like to get involved, please let myself or your enterprise coordinator know. Strategic plan templates and parental engagement toolkits. Next steps. So if you're not on Compass Plus, start the upgrade process, get on it. It is free. You can then use the future skills questionnaire to capture your student voice. You can then engage in the careers impact system, which is a really good lever to start engaging your head teachers, your SLT, your governors, if they're not already engaged in careers. Have a look at the strategic plan templates, start mapping your program to school improvement. Have a look at those EqualX learning outcomes, and that parental engagement toolkit is embedded within the Gatsby benchmark toolkit, all linked in the presentation, and this will be all shared with you after the webinar. So I'm going to stop the recording now and we'll open up for any questions. Bear with me 1 second.